Chris. Oh no, excuse me, Mr. Johnson, it seems I'm still stuck with the old habit from back then. You can call me whatever you want. Feel free to call me by whatever name you like. Alright, I understand. But you should stop speaking in such a formal way to me soon. By the way, it's about this afternoon's schedule. My name is Chris, and I'm 31 years old. I was in a taxi with my secretary Emily and we were reviewing today's schedule. I was a designer at a major graphics company. And since I'd taken on more responsibilities, I had to review my schedule even while commuting, making my days extremely busy. But I found my life fulfilling. By the way, you stayed at the office last night, didn't you? Yeah. I was swamped with work yesterday, and since there was an early meeting today, I ended up sleeping at my desk. Okay then, there's some time before the next meeting, I'll have the taxi take you home. I won't insist on taking a shower. But please at least change your suit. Some people attending today's meeting were also there yesterday. I sighed softly and slouched while Emily stretched to give the taxi driver instructions. Although I said my days were fulfilling. The increasing number of subordinates who admired me and the frequent interactions with top executives from various companies meant that I constantly had to be mindful of how I appeared, which was the only real burden in my current life. However, the attention I got from people then was different from the unpleasant stares I had used to get. As I was looking out the taxi window and thinking about this, I noticed it starting to rain. Emily muttered softly beside me, "Oh, it started raining after all." I took some painkillers out of my bag and gave it to her. "You have migraines, right? Here, take this." When I handed her the medicine, Emily looked surprised and then smiled gently. "Oh, you remembered, how nostalgic. I have known this sweet and tender woman since before we both worked at this company. That was back when I was a student who constantly worried about other people's stares. When I was in my first year of middle school, I had been weak since childhood and always carried various medications. These included stomachache medicine, painkillers, and even allergy relief medicine in case of a sudden allergic reaction. With such a frail body, my parents stopped me, so I only attended PE when I was in good condition, and basically observed in the shade. As a result, I had the palest skin among the boys my age. In middle school, my friends from elementary school became busy with club activities. Of course, I couldn't join both sports clubs and other non-sport clubs as well, so I did not belong to any extracurricular activities. I became an outcast from this time, and I was completely isolated from other students by the end of the first term. After school, I always went home sadly by myself, passing by where the students of the sports club were practicing. I couldn't count how many times I cursed my weak body. However, a turning point came in those lonely days. One day, after I had packed up to go home as usual and was walking past the track team practicing energetically. I can't even run a lap around the field, but the track team members are amazing, running laps around the school with such vigor. As I mumbled to myself and walked out the school gate, I noticed a girl sitting hunched over. She was probably a track team member. I thought she might be taking a break and was about to walk past her. As I was about to pass by, I heard her labored breathing. I instinctively approached her and asked, "Are you okay?" The girl looked up at me with a dazed expression and said, "My head hurts." I didn't know what to do, but I opened the extra bottle of water I was carrying to take my medicine and gave it to her. She slowly drank the water and eventually calmed down. After a while, she gently asked me, who had been sitting still next to her, "Thank you, we are in the same school, right? Are you 6th grader maybe?" I was startled to realize she was quite beautiful and nervously replied, "Yes." "Come on, you saved my life, why do you look so sorry?" The girl smiled teasingly at my embarrassed reaction. This girl would later become my secretary Emily. Emily was 2 years older than me, 8th grader at the same middle school, and the leader of the track team. That day, Emily wasn't feeling well and struggled during her run. "I always get headaches on rainy or cloudy days like this." "Isn't that a migraine?" "A migraine?" Emily seemed unfamiliar with migraines, so I briefly explained. "Wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was dehydration or something." "What? Dehydration is serious." "Really?" "I get it all the time before competitions." Emily was overly active, shone too brightly for me. I wanted to help her somehow and pulled out a small pouch from my bag. Please take this if you'd like, I have some headache medicine I use often. When I handed her the medicine, Emily looked surprised but then smiled warmly. Really? Thank you. Then here, take this little something in return. Then she pulled a candy bar out of her pocket and handed it to me. Oh, you don't have to do this. Besides, having a candy bar outside like this is. No worries, go ahead. She was taller than me at the time, and smiled and handed me the candy bar. I accepted her kindness with both hands and took a bite. Wow! This is good. Hey, you look like as if you've never had a candy bar before. At that moment, my heart raced at her playful smile. By the way, don't you participate in any clubs? You should join us. Well, I have a weak body. When I declined apologetically, Emily thought for a moment before suggesting, how about the library committee? We're short on members. And I can hardly attend due to my busy club schedule. I thought I might be able to handle the library committee and was about to smile and nod at Emily. I heard running footsteps and a loud voice. Emily! What are you doing slacking off? It was one of my classmates, Jason, with tan skin and a lean but muscular build. Jason smiled at Emily, but his gaze towards me was cold. I'm not slacking off, I'm recruiting. Hearing Emily's words, Jason frowned as he looked at me. Then, he started laughing mockingly. Oh, this guy? No way. He skips PE because he's weak. It's impossible. Jason looked down on me laughing, but to my frustration, I couldn't say anything back and couldn't look up. Suddenly, I heard a dull thud and Jason's pained shout, ouch. I quickly looked up to see that Emily had hit Jason on the head. You don't talk like that, do you? It's an order from the team leader. Apologize to him. Well, I'm sorry. Jason's eyes welled up with tears, and I quickly nodded. Emily giggled, overlooking us, and said, All right, Chris, see you soon. So Jason, let's go back. Cover for me in case that the coach gets mad at me. She then energetically ran off. Jason followed, holding his head. At that moment, I realized that the real cause of this heartbeat was my first love, watching Emily's running back. After that, I immediately applied to join the library committee. As Emily had said, the library committee was unpopular and there were empty positions, so I immediately began to work as a member. Even if it was only for a short time after school. Though Emily rarely attended the committee meetings, she napped and got scolded by the committee head whenever she attended. During my time on the committee, I developed a love for reading books on art and design. And it was then that I decided to become a graphic designer. A year later, Emily graduated from middle school, and my first love ended without me even getting her contact information. When I started my second year, my school life became much more miserable. Oh great, am I with Emily's stalker in this class too? That Jason was in most of the classes with me. Jason was always one of the popular students in every class and had several cronies. Almost all my classmates started giving me cold looks because of a single word from Jason. Hey, Emily was last year's leader of the track team, and she was quite pretty, right? Was Chris her stalker? Oh yeah, he became a member of the same library committee with Emily because she talked to him. Isn't that creepy? That's seriously messed up. Voices mocking me and disdainful glances came at me from all directions. No, Ha? What are you saying? Can't hear you with that tiny voice. Oh, but don't speak too loudly or you might get sick, right? Jason and his cronies laughed. I was so defeated by the pressure that I couldn't say anything back. From that on, the only place I found peace at school was the library after classes. I continued to study design alone, enduring Jason's mocking and the cold stares from others. However, there was a silver lining when the student poster I designed won the top prize in the middle school category. Even so, I didn't have friends to brag to when the award sat alone in the corner of my room. In my third year, I was no longer in the same class as Jason, but my bad reputation had spread throughout the grade. As a result, I had no peers to talk to, and the last page of my yearbook was blank. My lonely middle school life quietly came to an end. I remembered feeling a mix of frustration and envy when I saw Jason crying tears of joy at graduation, though he had caused my misery. Mr. Johnson. We've arrived. Ah, oh, we're already here. Next thing I knew, the cab had arrived in front of my house. Emily looked worriedly at me since I had been staring blankly into the past. I'll wait here. I've informed the office that I'll be returning with you. Okay. I'll be back soon. Hearing her call me Mr. Johnson felt strange since I was thinking about the Emily from back then. After graduating from middle school, I went abroad to study art and started a business with friends I met there. My efforts paid off, and our graphic design company grew into a major firm. I faced daily challenges as both a designer and vice president, but my younger self could never have imagined this future. Nor could I have imagined reuniting with my first love as an adult. However, our current relationship was strictly professional at that time, and I couldn't dwell on the past. I didn't even know if Emily was married. We've never discussed personal matters, and bringing up old feelings would only cause confusion. Thanks for waiting. Let's head back to the office. After taking a shower and changing into a new suit, I returned to the taxi where Emily was working on her laptop. As the taxi started moving, she stopped typing, checked her watch, and said, "We're heading to the office now. Please wait in the entrance lobby. As the sales department has informed me of some changes to the meeting documents, and I'll need to retrieve them." I see. Emily's diligent approach to her work always made me straighten up. She consistently anticipated my needs and handled schedule management flawlessly. Even for sudden dinner meetings, she always had a suitable restaurant booked in advance, proving herself to be an exceptionally capable secretary. I didn't feel deserving of such an excellent secretary. I had never seen anyone at the office attempt to flirt with Emily despite her remarkable beauty. People probably see her as unattainable just like in her school days. I would wonder why someone so talented and beautiful was working as my secretary. A familiar streets came into view as these thoughts crossed my mind. We arrived at our company, which was a large white building both tall and wide. Our company valued merit and freedom. So the area around the entrance was filled with stylish employees in business casual attire. And some were having lunch on the courtyard benches while others worked on laptops. It created a scene reminiscent of a college campus during lunch break, making the security guard at the entrance seem out of place. As I observed the surroundings, Emily exited the taxi first, opened my door, and stood slightly behind me as we walked to the main entrance. "Welcome back, Mr. Johnson." "Thanks. Keep up the good work this afternoon." The security guard opened the big front glass door for us and let us in. When I go inside, it was the entrance hall with predominantly white, featured a 3-story high ceiling. In the large marble reception area, the reception staff all greeted us with smiles. The sophisticated yet free-spirited atmosphere of the company perfectly embodied the dream my partners and I had when we started it. "Mr. Johnson, I'll go get the documents now. Please wait here for a moment." Emily said this and walked briskly towards the elevator hall. My stomach growled as I watched her go and then moved to sit on a nearby sofa. "Oh, I haven't eaten anything since yesterday." I headed towards the nearby sandwich place as I thought Emily wouldn't be back soon. Once inside, I was momentarily overwhelmed by the wide selection of bread and salads as well as sandwiches. Before I started going out for business every day like I do now, I used to buy my meals here. I grabbed a sandwich and one candy bar and joined the line at the register. The line was very crowded as it was just past noon. I heard someone in the line ahead of me muttering. I admired their diligence while thinking he was practicing for a presentation. As I carefully placed the sandwich I bought in my bag to avoid crushing it, I heard footsteps approaching and a man's voice calling out, "Hey." I looked up to see a man in a suit staring straight at me. As I tried to remember where I had seen him before, he walked closer and I noticed he was smirking. As I recognized the familiar sneer, the man spoke first. "Chris? What are you doing here?" To my surprise, it was Jason. Jason. I looked closely at his face and then at the ID card hanging around his neck. Sure enough, it bore Jason's name and his department in the sales division. I was stunned by this sudden reunion, but Jason sighed loudly and frowned. "Jason? Since when have you been able to call me so casually?" "Huh? Casually?" Jason showed obvious irritation. "Yeah, you're calling me by my first name. Who do you think you are?" It had been a long time since someone had spoken to me so rudely, and I was bewildered. "You work here." As I muttered this to myself, Jason leaned closer and said, "Don't you know basic business manners? When you do something rude, you have to apologize first." He lightly tapped my shoulder with the documents he was holding. "What is the biggest loser in our grade doing here?" It seemed Jason assumed I didn't belong at this company. I surprisingly felt nothing, though I faced the person who had made my school days miserable. Jason's attitude was irritating, but it didn't provoke anger. Instead, I felt a strange nostalgia for how little he had changed. "You're right. I'm sorry. It's been a long time, Jason." I said this with a smile, and Jason's frown deepened. "Ha? Don't you answer my question? What are you doing here? And you don't even have a visitor's pass. Did you sneak in?" Jason laughed mockingly. His behavior was infuriating, but I couldn't rise to his bait. As the vice president of this company, I had to maintain composure. If I lost my temper and word got out, it would be trouble. Because if it became known that I, as vice president, was angry with Jason here, he would definitely be left out by his boss. Even if he lacked social graces, I couldn't let my temper ruin his career. I decided to endure Jason's arrogant and disrespectful attitude. "Hey, are you listening?" "Yeah, I'm listening. Actually, As I was about to reveal my identity, Jason cut me off and started laughing. "I get it. You're here trying to pitch to us, aren't you? I've seen guys like you, bottom-tier salesmen who don't know their place." "Oh, no, it's not that." I tried to deny Jason's assumption, but he kept talking. "You disappeared after middle school, right? Did you drop out and get a job? There's no way you'd be here otherwise." Jason continued to laugh and look down on me. I decided to change the subject as I realized he wouldn't listen. "So, Jason, are you an employee here?" Jason showed me his employee ID and raised his voice proudly. "Of course. See, it says sales department. I would have been the sales manager if you had met me a bit later." "Wow, that's impressive." Jason's arrogant and condescending demeanor made me worry about the future of the sales department. But I couldn't spend more time talking to him. Emily was probably back at the entrance by now. I decided to wrap things up and move on to my next task. "Well, I have to go. It was nice seeing you." As I tried to walk past Jason, he grabbed my arm with a smirk. "Where do you think you're going?" "The exit is that way." "Ha?" Jason pointed towards the entrance. "No, I need to go to the entrance hall." "What are you talking about? Get out of here. Don't make me repeat myself." "But Jason laughed heartily, seeing my hesitation. "Can't you see how useless you are? You're wearing a nice suit, but everyone here looks at yourself, not your outfit. Someone like you would be turned away at the door." Jason's mocking and rude behavior increased my frustration. What is he talking about? I muttered under my breath, but Jason heard me with his sharp ears. "Ha? Did you say something?" he shouted. Realizing that staying longer would only make things worse, I tried to think of a way to leave. But Jason raised his voice again. "Get out of here, you trespasser." "Do you want to get reported?" he said with a smirk. Jason's voice echoed around, and some employees peeked from the second and third floor corridors. Employees around the reception area also looked worriedly in our direction. Jason exaggerated his volume since he sensed the attention. "Someone like you won't be taken seriously by anyone here." "But I reached the limit of my patience and was about to reveal my identity without caring about Jason or the onlookers. I heard the sound of heels clicking on the floor. Turning towards the sound, I saw Emily walking towards us with documents in hand and her posture straight and her eyes fixed on me. Before I could speak, Jason approached Emily. "Emily. Long time no see. It's my lucky day to meet you, always with the executives." "Hey, don't ignore me." Emily didn't even glance at the elated Jason and walked straight to me. She looked between my eyes and her watch standing in front of me. "He's a trespasser. I just caught him." Jason was smiling and talking to Emily as if he was obsessed with her beauty. Emily kept ignoring Jason and took a deep breath. "There you are, Mr. Johnson." "What?" "Mr. Johnson. Jason seemed genuinely shocked by Emily's words. Sorry, I stopped by the sandwich place, and it took longer than expected. I was looking for you, Vice President. No worries, there's still time before the meeting. What? Vice President. This guy. Jason's confused voice echoed through the entrance again. Emily frowned at the sound and looked directly at Jason with a sharp gaze. Jason, what are you talking about? Even if we have a history, your disrespectful behavior is intolerable. Emily's usual calm and composed tone carried a cold edge. But, Emily, I thought you were joking. However, Jason continued to fawn over Emily. It seemed that talking to Emily made him happier than dealing with the current situation. Seeing Emily take a deep breath, I couldn't help but lower my eyes. This man is Mr. Chris Johnson, our vice president and a leading designer representing our company. A regular employee like you showing such disrespect could have serious consequences. Emily's voice rang out in the entrance. Jason nodded along at first, but soon he froze in place. Wait, really? Is he? Jason's head shook in disbelief as he alternated glances between Emily and me. Emily cleared her throat and said, "Let's discuss this matter with the sales manager." She looked coldly at Jason. Wait, please. I didn't know. Right, Chris? You understand, don't you? Jason looked as if he were begging for his life. I couldn't help but feel sorry for him seeing the sweat on his forehead and tears in his eyes. However, I wondered if forgiving Jason here was the right thing to do. Such disrespect towards the company's upper management would normally result in suspension for any regular employee. Therefore, I considered whether Jason should face the same consequences. I can't believe Chris is the vice president. Jason was still in shock and began to stammer. Emily softened her tone and beckoned him closer. Jason, come here. In a near-dazed state, Jason bent down as Emily instructed and leaned closer to her. Then, in the next moment, there was a dull thud from Jason's direction. Ouch! I glanced over at Jason and saw him holding his head. It seemed that Emily had given him a light knock on the head. If you want forgiveness, apologize first. Emily's words made Jason instantly deflate. He muttered, I'm sorry. I apologize for my disrespect. I felt a wave of nostalgia seeing Emily standing with arms crossed and looking down at Jason. This made me realize that Jason's past behavior didn't matter anymore, and I let out a small laugh. What are you laughing at? Excuse me, Chris? No, Mr. Johnson? Oh, sorry. I just felt nostalgic. It's okay, Jason. I'll let this go, but please don't behave like this with anyone else. When I spoke gently, Jason, teary-eyed, nodded. Emily smiled kindly, a rare sight during work. But I really didn't know. I had no idea you were the vice president of this company. Jason said so apologetically. I studied design abroad after graduating. I started this company with people I met there, so it's no surprise you didn't know. When I explained, Jason looked at me with admiration. Art studies abroad? That's amazing, he said excitedly. Then, he looked down again and looked embarrassed. I'm sorry about back then. I was awful. I completely lost to the person you are now. I'll try to think more before I act. Jason's apology was undoubtedly for our middle school days. Even though his apology couldn't change the past or turn my middle school years into good memories, I felt that not forgiving him would leave me carrying this burden forever. So, I decided to smile gently and forgive him. It's okay. And you don't need to change your attitude. After all, we are old classmates, right? Tears welled up in Jason's eyes at my words. Then he said with a voice that seemed squeezed out, "Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm ashamed of how petty I've been." Emily looked relieved at the scene. But now that I think about it, why did you hate me back then? I never did anything to you, did I? Oh, that was... Jason glanced at Emily. Sensing something, Emily laughed a little and said, "It was probably jealousy." Jason confessed to me at my graduation, saying I was his first love. Jason blushed and gave an embarrassed smile. Emily had stolen the first love of both men here, so she seemed quite the heartbreaker. After a moment, Emily checked her watch and looked at me. Chris, it's about time. Oh, right. Jason, we need to go now. Let's catch up properly another time. Sure. Emily and I said our goodbyes to Jason and headed towards the elevator hall. As we got into the elevator, Jason ran after us and shouted, "Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson," while waving his hand until the doors closed. As the elevator doors shut and the space grew quiet, I let out a big sigh. Emily chuckled as she reminisced. It seemed she found the recent scene amusing. "You laugh too much, poor Jason." "No, that's not why I'm laughing," Emily said with a mischievous smile. While I looked puzzled, she continued. "When Jason mentioned that I was his first love, you had quite the face, as if saying, 'You too?'" "What?" "Well, Emily kept smiling like a little devil seeing me fumbled for words. While considering whether to share my old feelings, a question crossed my mind. "By the way, Emily, weren't you originally Mr. Smith's secretary?" "You became my secretary later, but did you know about me?" Emily stopped laughing and looked at me with a slightly lingering smile. "Yes, of course. That's why I requested it myself. I believed my skills would be best utilized working with you." "That can't be true. You're so talented." "No, it's true. Mr. Smith understood quickly because he's romantic." Emily's words made me puzzled. "I heard he proposed to his wife with 100 roses in a helicopter at night." I knew he was romantic, but how does it relate to? When I said that, Emily flashed a mischievous smile and began checking her documents. It seemed she wouldn't reveal the answer until I figured it out myself. The elevator doors opened, revealing the hallway leading to our destination, the conference room. Before opening the conference room door, I opened the soda I bought earlier and took a sip to refocus. Emily watched this and said, "100 roses are lovely, but I'd be just as happy with 100 candy bars." No flower language. But it holds special meaning for us, right, Chris? Meaningfully. I understood everything with her words, opened the conference room door with a flushed face and got ready for the meeting.